Welcome to the Rooted Dad podcast. I'm your host, Logan Engel, and I'm thankful you are here today. My goal is for you to feel challenged, inspired, and encouraged to grow into the dad, the man, and the leader God has called you to be. Take a deep breath, settle in, and let's get rooted together. A buddy of mine went through a very rough family situation where unfortunately his mother passed and she didn't have a will. It caused months of confusions, legal costs, and strain between him and his brothers. That story has always stuck with me. So when it came to my own family, I wanted to do things differently. I used trust and will. It was shockingly easy. Their platform walked me through every decision with clarity, and now my plan is locked in and legally sound. Learn from my friend's experience and learn from mine. Don't wait. I want you to go over to trustandwill.com/rooted to get 20% off of your estate plan. It's $200. It's not a lot, and it makes your life so much easier, and it gives you just a peace that is very, very good in your heart. Go to trustandwill.com/rooted to get 20% off. Hi, my name is Logan, and I am the host and founder of the Rooted Dad podcast, and I'm very thankful that you guys are here. We have a really packed episode today, and there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to be covering. Mainly, we're going to be talking about our daughters, and we're going to be talking about the first man that she's ever going to love, our relationship with her. And this really hits me hard, one, because I'm a girl dad, two, because this is exactly why I am doing this podcast. I'm doing this podcast for us to grow as fathers, to grow as men, and especially being a girl dad, I want my daughter to grow up knowing that she is important, she's valued, and she's loved more than anything. And so today we're going to be talking about that message and how we deliver that to our daughters, how we portray that to her, and how we find that inside of ourselves also. And so you be the man who plants roots so deep your daughter stands firm when the world shakes, because it's going to shake around her. Our daughters, unfortunately, are going to be labeled as, just, they're going to get catcalled, they're going to get whistled at, they're going to be objectified. And when those days come, we want them to understand their value. We want them to know how important they are inside and out. And so this message is going to deliver all of these things, and I'm excited that you're here. So to kind of kick this off, we are the first man that our daughters will ever love. And how we love them teaches them what love actually looks like. Now, it's very important that when we get into our journey as dads and, the words that we're saying, the actions that we're doing, that we're remembering that we are the very first man that she's going to love. And me and my daughters, we go on daddy-daughter dates a lot. We try to do them once a month if possible. And if not, we try to get them done once a quarter. And we've done things from, I've taken Lily to this dinosaur exhibit that comes to Indianapolis, and she still talks about it to this day. I've taken Harper to dinner, and we've just done a lot of really fun things. And I remember one time specifically, me and Harper were driving home from a daddy-daughter date, and she's in the back seat, and I just hear her say, "Dad, does the man always have to pay when I go on a date?" I said, "Yes, absolutely." Because at the end of the day, like, e- even if even if he can't afford the dollar menu at McDonald's, like, we have to evaluate where his priorities are at. And you have to evaluate where his priorities are at. Now, she is also 5 years old, I think maybe 6 when we're having this conversation. So the fact that she is trying to, really understand that piece is, I think, comical. But she has the thought in her mind of what I'm instilling in her with our dates, knowing that there is an expectation of how men should act. Like, I always hold my daughter's hands. I always open the door for them. I always tell them, hey, I love you. I'm proud of you. This is so much fun. Like, I love just being with you. I'm trying to instill very, very early in their lives that they are valued, that they are loved, that they're important. They're not just here to be here. And I want them to know that about themselves because, one, kids are mean. Two, when they do get older and they do start to have men courting them and coming over, like, your mental state is very fragile the younger you are, because you'll believe anything that makes you feel loved, that makes you feel important, and you don't want to give your heart to the wrong thing. And so I'm working very hard to make sure that my girls know that their heart belongs to Jesus, that their heart belongs to them, and that whatever they give their heart to, that's where their treasures. That's what the Bible talks about, right? So as we develop this, and as I go through this message, start to think about some of these things. Like, one, are you portraying the man that you want your daughter to marry one day? Are you acting that way? Are you treating her the way that you would want her to be treated by her future husband? Ephesians 5, verse 25 just says, "Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church." Why is that important in this message? Well, how you love their mom is how you model love. So if you're in this situation where you're constantly yelling at your wife, or you are, in an abusive relationship, your daughter's going to pick those things up. And that is a touchy subject, but the way that you are loving her mother is the way that she identifies and knows what love means. So, one of the things that I do is when I come in the house, the first person I say, hi to and I acknowledge is my wife, because I want my kids to understand that as our household, my wife is the second most important person in my life. Jesus is first, my wife is second, my kids are third. And I want them to realize that. And so now, if, when they get off the bus or when they get home and I get to see them, I immediately greet them. Lily will say every now and then, she's, I don't, I'm going to miss you so much when I go to school. And I say, listen, I'm going to miss you too. But that's why I wait for you when you get off the bus, so I can, Lily, and I can be so excited when you get home. because I want her to understand what that means and to have someone be excited to see her. And I do that with all of my girls. When we show grace, gentleness, and consistency, even when we fail, we're showing what God's love looks like in real life. There are so many times that I have failed as a dad. I apologize to my kids straight up. If I've raised my voice, if I have mistreated them in any way, right? I do apologize. And I literally say, hey, I am sorry for the way I acted. I'm sorry for the way that I spoke to you. You didn't deserve that. I make that very clear. You didn't deserve that. And I am sorry. And it could be for something as like, maybe I've had a long day. I've asked them to do their chores 500 times and I'm getting frustrated. And if I just start yelling and screaming and I don't apologize, that's what they begin to think is right. And it's not. I've had situations where my girls will come home from friends' houses and they'll say something like, "Oh, their parents fight all the time," or are you guys going to get divorced because you didn't agree?" Like, I've had some very interesting questions when my daughters come home from other people's houses. And so even the way that you portray yourself in front of her when her friends are over or anything, they watch you. They watch you so much that you don't even know. So I don't want you to think that you have to be on all the time. It's quite opposite. I want you to just know that you are imperfect, that you have the ability to show what that truly looks like to your kids, to your daughters specifically. And it's okay to fail. It's okay not to be perfect. It's okay to be vulnerable. And so I want to give you guys 3 specific things to work on, to think about, and just to take action on after this episode is over. 1, we already started talking about it, but she learns how to be loved by watching you. Your tone, your patience, and your attention shape her definition and safety and worth. If all you do is yell constantly at her, that's what she's going to think is okay. If all you do is, if you're never patient and you're just like, I need you to do this, 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 and this, like, she's going to think that when she grows up, men are going to want her to do this, 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 and this to feel loved, to feel appreciated, when that's not the case. The things that you're doing when she's young and the way that you're acting to her is shaping the way that she's going to love in the future. If love is loud with anger or quiet with absence, that's what she'll think love looks like. It's a hard pill to swallow. And yeah, some of us aren't the most verbal people, right? Like we give people the silent treatment. We don't acknowledge our feelings. Like, it's okay. I think there's this this standard, or whatever you want to call it, that like men can't cry and we can't be vulnerable and we can't, be truthful, that we have to have the weight of the world on our shoulders. And that's not true. You can be vulnerable. That's honestly, to me, that's how you get stronger. You don't have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. And when you show that to her, especially if you can find your faith in Jesus, when you show her that you can lean into him, that you can get on your knees and pray, I'm telling you, it creates a massive ripple effect. And I've told this story before, but it's, I remember a few months back, it was kind of over the summer, I was fasting, and I didn't make lunch, or I didn't start eating until like noon or something like that. And Harper, my oldest, was asking me like, why are you just eating now? And I told her I'm fasting, and we had this whole conversation about what fasting was. And I said, typically you fast when you fast for yourself or you fast for someone else. And right now I'm fasting for someone else. At the time, my wife's grandfather had just passed away, and Harper was dealing with it really hard. And she kept asking me, who am I fasting for? Who am I fasting for? And eventually, instead of me getting frustrated, I realized that was a point of vulnerability to share with her. And I told her straight up, I'm fasting for you. I've never I've never gotten a bigger hug in my entire life. But she needed to hear that. She needed to know someone was fighting for her spiritually. She needed to know that. Our kids need to know that someone is fighting for them spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally. They need to know all that. Point number 2. She learns how to love others by how you lead her. Model forgiveness, humility, and service. She'll see what Christ-like love looks like. So just take a moment and realize. Just take a moment and realize how you are leading her. Are you apologizing for things? Are you showing humility? Are you serving? In fact, last night we were eating dinner, and I asked Harper, hey, can you get something for Lily? And she got it. And I asked her to do like 2 or 3 things, which I was probably very capable of doing. And she did all of them. She didn't fight about it. It was awesome. Later that night, she asked me, Dad, can you go get me a couple hair ties from upstairs? I 100% could have said no and said, hey, you need to go do that yourself. But I didn't. And I said, yep, I'll go do that here in 1 second. Went upstairs, got her the hair ties, and when I came down, I said, hey, I want you to understand something. Earlier, you asked me to do, or I asked you to do a lot of things earlier, and I want to say thank you for those things. But that's one of the reasons I went up and got the hair ties for you, is because I want, I'm appreciative of you, and I want to pay that back to you. And she just kind of like looked at me like, okay. She's like, thanks, Dad. I love you. And I said, I love you too. Very simple conversation. She probably thought it was weird, but I wanted her to understand like her value and why I loved that she served, because now I had the opportunity to serve her. It's serving others is so much fun. And if you've never done it, I highly encourage you to find one way to just serve your family this week, to serve your kids this week, and see how they react to it and how they take that and respond to it even. Point number three. Point number three. She learns who God is by the Father she sees in you. This one for me is very important. The relationship that our kids will have with us or will have with God is a reflection of how we're treating them. For a long time, I think it took me a while to realize how much God loved me because I personally have abandonment issues. You know, not knowing my dad until I was 12, and feeling like he didn't want to be around me and he didn't want me reflected the relationship that I had with God. I and it's to the point now where like I never knew how much God loved me until I became a dad myself. Because my kids get in trouble, I will forgive them and I will always love them for that. I tell my kids, I'm like, you could kill somebody or go to jail and I would still love you because you're my child. God says the same thing to us. I never realized how much I never realized how much I needed, or I never realized my relationship with God and how loving God is towards me until I became a father. How you show mercy teaches her God's grace. Hey, real talk, we all have that one task that we've been putting off for hours, for days, for weeks. My wife's been asking me to do, build a cupboard for the last year and a half. But the biggest thing is estate planning. We've put that off for a long time. But then we found Trust and Will. In less than 20 minutes, I went from I'll get it done one day to it's done. My family's protected. 20 minutes. Their website is super easy to use, everything's customized to your state, and their support team actually answers questions like real humans. You don't get anything like great customer service anymore, and that's one of the biggest reasons I love and have partnered with Trust and Will. Give yourself a quick win today. Go to trustandwill.com/rooted for 20% off your estate plan, and finally cross off protect my family's future off your to-do list. Again, go to trustandwill.com/rooted for 20% off. Hey, you are forgiven. I know it's been a rough day. I know you didn't mean the things that you said. I know you're upset. And we say it, I say it all the time in the house. It's like, I'm choosing grace today. When they are, one of the things that my daughters say all the time is, well, I didn't make that mess. And there are times that I'm like, I'm literally doing the dishes. I'm like, I didn't make this mess either, but I'm serving you guys and I'm showing grace. And they don't really know what to do or what to say, I guess. So it's like checkmate. But at the same time, I'm trying to model that humility and I'm trying to model that grace towards them. Two, how you discipline teaches her God's justice system. I'm not going to tell you that spanking or that type of discipline is bad because I have spanked my kids. I will be honest. I've spanked my kids, I think, once or twice. My method is I flick my kids. Seems to be the only thing that works, but I also I do it on the shoulder or something, right? But, if you're, getting very physical, they're going to have a hard time with that. If you are, if you're playing these like mental mind games with them constantly, they're gonna, that's how they're gonna really see, like, is God just playing mental mind games with me? Just remember, like, discipline your kids in a godly way. And I'm not saying that, like, you have to beat the Bible into them, but discipline them in a way that's like nurturing. Like we do timeouts. We have them sit on the cabinet, but we have them sit on the cabinet according for the time limit according to their age. So, you know, but also understand who your kids are. Harper does not like being reprimanded in front of people, so I don't. And if she gets upset when something happens and she gets in trouble, she usually shuts down. She goes to her room, or she kind of goes over here in the corner. And I let her do those things. And because she needs room to process her discipline. And if the way that she's going to process that is to exit where she's at, I actually respect her for that, because she knows the emotions that she's carrying at that time, and she doesn't want other people to see that, but she also knows that she might be angry and she might flip out on somebody. Right? Lily, Lord help me with Lily. She's my middle child. And if you have a middle child, you know. But when she's in trouble, she runs. And I don't know why. Like I don't beat my kids or anything like that, but like she just like, cuz she knows that like that's a way out. She gets very frantic and emotional. Violet just throws herself on the ground and just bah. But when they're disciplined, I try to leave room for them to process their emotions in that time, because I think God leaves room for us to process our emotions. And this is really important, but how you stay teaches her God's faithfulness. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're a very overwhelmed parent right now, one, I completely understand what you're going through. But if you and your wife get in an argument and your first reaction is, I'm going to leave and go to the bar, or I'm going to leave and go hang out with this guy, or I'm going to leave and go, do not do that. You have to stay present. Because now, if your automatic reaction when there's an argument between you and your wife, or maybe it is between you and your kids, and your reaction is to leave, what does she think God's going to do when there's a hard situation in life? Is he going to be faithful? Because I'll tell you right now, the hardest thing about faith is we can't see God. We just have to trust that he's there. Like we have to. We have to trust that he's there. And we have to trust that he is staying with us. So the way that we model the faithfulness of God is the fact that we just stay. You know, there have been times when like Lily is very overstimulated, very overwhelmed, especially at bedtime. And we struggled with this for a while, to where she started putting herself to bed, and she would just, hysterically cry. And I don't know if it was just that she was scared of the dark or what it was. Part of it was that she wanted her mom to put her to bed, but her mom also needs a break too, so it goes back to serving. And she would just scream like, go away. Like, and I'd say, I will go away, but I'm going to be right here at your door if you need anything. And she would go downstairs. Like, I'm like, okay, but I'm still here. And there would be times that like I would just sit outside of her door, and I would listen to her cry, and I would listen to her just work through her own emotions. And it hurt me, but I knew she had to process her emotions, because there would be situations that she would come out of her room and she would look for me. And if I'm not there, she thinks that I won't be there ever. And I personally cannot deal with that. I can't handle that. I want my kids to know that I'm present. I want my kids to know that I'm going to stay. I want my kids to know that I'm there for them 24/7. And so there have been times when like Lily comes out of her room and I'm like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah." "Do you want me to lay with you?" "Yes." "Perfect. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. It may seem like you want me to push, you want to push me away, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm your dad. I love you. And I'm here." Now, I have 3 girls. When it is that time of the month, at the same time for all of them, when they become teenagers, I might actually leave my house. But in all seriousness, like I'm here to support them. I'm here to love them. I'm here to guide them, and I'm here to nurture them because that's what God is doing inside of us constantly. So, this all ties into the mission. This all ties into what the podcast stands for. It's about being rooted. It's about digging these deep roots that can't be uprooted. You can't pull the tree out. You can't pull the plant out. Like, be rooted so deeply that nothing shakes it. And you want her to see that too. So, what kind of love is your daughter learning from you right now? What kind of love are your kids learning from you right now? I want you to take some time to journal about this, to write it down, to let it breathe, to let it process on your own. And then I would highly encourage you to have this conversation with your kids and just sit them down and be like, "Hey, like, I remember when I first got into therapy, actually. I remember when I first got into therapy, I felt like there was so much being on my shoulders that I was getting frustrated and I was lashing out and I was doing a lot of things. And my therapist suggested to ask my entire family, my wife and all of my kids, what they actually did need from me, what they wanted from me. And I remember going around and I asked my wife and she was like, I really wish you wouldn't yell at the kids as much. And she was like, and I want you to be more like present. I want you just to not be working all the time, not on your phone like I just want you to be present. Those are the 2 things that she said to me. When I went to my daughters, Harper had said, "I kind of don't want you to yell as much." That's 2 in a row. And, I don't remember what else she said, but I do remember that. So her image of me was like I yelled all the time. That, ask your kids what they need from you, and it's okay to ask them what their impression of you is. Now, the key to that is to process that. And it's not offensive. They're not attacking you because, one, you're inviting them into that conversation. But it's a way that you're going to grow. And then when I went to ask Lily, she's just like, I don't know, just have more fun. Or I think she said like play more games with her. So now we have a PlayStation that we play Astrobot on frequently, and it's so much fun. If you don't, I would highly encourage you to get that game. It's a ton of fun. But ask your kids, ask your kids how they feel, how they feel about what you do during the day, how you love them. Do they know that you love them? Are you telling them that, vocally? And be okay with the answers that you get. That's the important part. I don't want you to ask these questions and then now you're all pissed off because you got the answer that you didn't want to hear. You're probably going to get some, and that's okay. Because kind of where we kind of finish this off is Psalm 103:13 says, "As a father has compassion on his children, so the Lord has compassion on those who fear him." I want you to understand something very specifically about that scripture and about scripture in general. Oftentimes, when you hear the term fear the Lord, it doesn't mean that you actually have to be scared of him. It's actually a term that means to respect. And so when we read it that way, so the Lord has compassion on those who respect him. Respect is a two-way street. And I can't ask for respect if I'm not respecting others. Personally, that's just my view of it. That is my 100% view of it. And so when we get on this subject of being the first man that our daughters will love, there's so many things that we need to do and that we can do. But I would say like the biggest one is being compassionate and being respectful. There's a world right now that we live in where pornography is real, that men watch women on the internet have sex with people, get naked, and they pay for it. Women are objectified in the world today. I do not want my daughters growing up being objectified and feeling like they are a piece of meat or they are not valued or they are not loved because they don't have the right body type or they don't have the right hair or their whatever. I'm not dealing with that. But in order for me to do that, I have to love them unconditionally. I have to show that love to my wife. I have to show that love to other people because they're watching me. And the minute they bring some guy home, I will ask him all of these questions. Because I don't want my daughter to be with someone that doesn't respect her, that doesn't love her, that doesn't appreciate her. That's not a godly man. I'll just be very honest. I want them to have someone that loves them unconditionally, that is willing to serve them, that is, quite frankly, willing to die for them like Jesus died for the church. That is who I want them to marry because that's hopefully what I am modeling to them every day. So, as we wrap up, I want to do a couple things. One, I want you to challenge you to do a couple things. One, I want you to show your daughter love in a way that she'll remember, not with words, but with consistency. Let her see in you the kind of man she can trust, respect, and one day measure love by. However you want to do that. If you want to journal it down, if you want to write that down, if you want to, I don't know. I don't know how you do it. I personally, we talked about this a few weeks ago, but I do legacy journals for my kids. So I got all these journals made for them. They don't know that these exist, and I don't know if they listen or watch my podcast. They're also 8, 5, and or 8, 6, and 2, soon to be 3. But I got these journals designed for them. And inside, I write them a letter once a year on their birthday. And if I am compelled to write them an additional one, those will be in here too. But I do these journals for them, and that's how I'm showing my love. And they'll get those when they turn 18. So whatever way you want to model that love, so they can see that. Maybe it's that you just need to pray about it, or maybe it is a situation where you need to give your life to Jesus. Something like that might need to happen. And I'm happy to help you and guide you to do that. As you're doing this, would love for you to share your process and your thoughts via social media if you're comfortable with that. We are on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on Twitter now. Obviously, we're here on YouTube, so you can leave comments below, or you can tag us in on social media. You processing your thoughts. Maybe it's just that like you've told yourself, I'm gonna hug my daughter more. Like I'm gonna hug my daughter 5 times every day, and you just if you're doing that, like tag us. I want to see that. Like I want to see how much you and your daughter and your kids, quite frankly, are bonding. So do that. Like the podcast, share it with another dad, share it with some friends. If you do like a men's small group or whatever, like share, like listen to the podcast for this and have talking points, and just it's a good conversation starter. But share this with other dads, and get it going so we can bring more rooted dads into this conversation and into this community. We have a newsletter. If you haven't figured that out yet, we do have a newsletter. Subscribe to the newsletter. They come out every Wednesday, and it's usually what's going on in the week of the podcast. And there's always like some words of encouragement there. But subscribe to the newsletter. You'll get all of your fun updates there. And then lastly, just like I said, subscribe to the podcast, follow us on social media. I try to give a lot of like encouraging messages outside of the podcast, because at the end of the day, like we're all in this together, and I don't want you to forget that. So we're here, we're growing, we're getting better, and we're becoming the men who plants roots so deep that our kids stand firm when the world shakes. That's the way it is. So with that, I appreciate you guys. Share the podcast with someone, subscribe to it. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your neighbors about the Rooted Dad podcast. Subscribe to the newsletter, and we will see you next time on the Rooted Dad podcast. I wish you blessings, and I pray for you as we leave, and just ask that God is in your life and on your heart, and helping you become the best dad your kids need today. Bye, everybody.